doing?
Good. Well, thanks for joining us at the School of Hard Knocks. I'm so excited that you're here. Elise is going to do an experiment for us today, and I'm super excited about it because she kind of showed me a little bit of it, and I've seen something similar, but this is different, and I think it's going to be really motivational. So before we get started, you chose the topic that you wanted to talk about today.
Yes.
What makes you so passionate about that topic?
So the topic that we're talking about today is generational curses.
Mhm.
And what makes me so passionate about that topic in particular is during my healing journey. I started healing when I was 25 after I met Jesus. So that is a very important part of my healing journey. I am now 35. Up to that point, my life was not the best. So I need to just talk about me. I want your viewers or your listeners to actually say, okay, well, why should we listen to this lady? Like, what does she got going on that she can actually give us insight into what we might have going on?
Yes.
So a little bit about my background and how I was growing up is my parents weren't the best. I had my mom was very manipulative. She was an alcoholic. She dabbled in drug use. And was a Jehovah's Witness, but that is another topic for another day. And my father was, it was like walking on eggshells around him. He was very, very controlling. He would have angry outbursts, but he was very emotionally and verbally abusive to my mother that I saw a lot. And they ended up going through a very traumatic divorce with me and my sister, which actually separated me and my sister for a good many years, leading up to my dad abandoned me multiple times in my life. But during the divorce, I was 12 when I was abandoned by him for 3 years. So I just going through that was a lot. My mom picked a partner after the divorce, or during the divorce, because she was cheating on my dad. So she picked a partner that was also an alcoholic who has now passed due to alcohol-related dementia. Her partner after that has passed due to liver cirrhosis. And I guess I lived a childhood where I really didn't feel like I was loved. Which led me to make very bad decisions in my adult life. I felt very isolated because I went to school with people who I felt were above me. I went to the rich side of school. So the rich side of school, you know, I didn't have peers talking about XYZ happening at home. And I learned really quick I needed to not talk about that or I was going to be judged and singled out as the weird one. So I felt very isolated. I was very introverted. I read 600-page novels in my room to keep to myself, and so I became very smart very early. But I was very book smart. I wasn't very social street smart. So I wasn't really open to learning about the struggles coming from those generational curses, how that can impact the relationship. And what I'm really trying to approach today is women out there who are dealing with an abusive and traumatic relationship now, recognizing that. I was very early. I was 19 when I met my ex, and I was 21 when I had my oldest son. I did not know at the time that I was the prey and he was the predator. I just wanted to be loved by someone so much. I needed to feel love that I opened myself up to someone that was not good for me. And when he was, being not good to me, either verbally, mentally, he had some addiction problems as well, and also there was fidelity problems in our relationship where he would be cheating on me. I was not strong, and it took me a very long time with multiple people telling me, hey, you need to do this and you need to do this, but they didn't understand the trauma bond. I didn't even know what a trauma bond was back then. And for me, it was really just understanding what was happening to break free from it.
Right.
So my whole goal is to just kind of talk about that a little bit, to try to motivate some women that are out there that are not in very good relationships, that are not forming good relationships for their children to see and be around, to make the best decisions for them. Yeah. So
I mean, it's relatable to me on the aspect of my childhood was not good either, and the walking on eggshells thing is definitely something that my childhood was very much about.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I mean, Eric and I had issues at the beginning of our relationship, but they were quickly solved.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it was. I was 19 when I met Eric. Okay. And by the time I was 22, I was like, we're done with what we're doing here, or we're just done with each other. Because the trauma from, I knew I was going to be my mom. And I wasn't okay with it. I didn't want to be stuck in that situation. And Eric, I think, was looking for somebody to save him too. You know, Eric was overly loved by his parents because of the accident that he had when he was a child, and he was so used to being coddled and taken care of, which was fine to a certain degree, but then using that as the excuse as to why he's done certain things in his life just couldn't fly with me. So he made the conscious decision we were both drinking a lot. You know, like I wasn't even drinking age when I first met Eric, but you know, we've all been there and,
right.
and have done it. But he was going to the bars and he was coming home and crawling to the door, and I was like, no, that's not for me. So if Eric and I, at this juncture now, 26 years together, for probably the last 15 years, if we drink once a year, that's surprising. It was a very much a no thing for me. So it's interesting for me to talk with other people because I don't know what it was in me that was able to trigger the healing so quickly. I didn't even realize it was healing. To me, it was more about taking control of me, of my person. So, because I had no control my whole entire life, but I was like, I'm 19 years old. I can stop this from happening to me now.
Yeah, so that's just recognizing the issue at its root, right? Mm-hmm. The drinking is the problem. And then problem solving, what am I going to do about this problem? Mm-hmm. How is this going to play out? Because everything, you know, with your past too, you're like, I don't want to be like this. So how am I going to control what my future outcome is going to be? And really that's what healing is. You need to, you know, take the first step at recognizing the problem. And then what am I going to do about it? Because it's not like I'm just going to lay down and, oh, well, I guess this is what life is now. I guess that, you know, I'm just going to have an alcoholic boyfriend and this is what, you know, every Saturday is going to be like. No, you want better for yourself. Right. And so it's just making those decisions of what do I want for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, let's get started. I'm excited to get to your experiment too. So, looking back, what are some red flags from past relationships that you wish you had recognized earlier?
So, just kind of feeding back into that with my relationship with my ex, how I was the prey and he was the predator. Specifically, when you have a narcissistic ex, they are looking for targets. They're looking for someone who has trauma. They're looking for someone who might not have a lot of self-esteem, who might not have a lot of self-love, because it's easier to put them under control. So when you have someone who sweeps into your life and is love bombing, that is, after those 3 months, after the love bombing, if their actions are changing, if things don't add up with their finances, with what they're speaking, you can start recognizing those flags. And in a relationship, like if you already know that, you know, they're cheating or they're doing these things and they're saying that they're going to be getting better, and then they say, oh, I'm so sorry, that here's the flowers, here's all of that again, to keep that hope alive, just to do that same thing again. You need to recognize that and set limits on yourself. You're going to say, okay, I know the pattern.
Yeah.
I know what's coming next. I need to accept responsibility for this pattern, because this is happening to me because I'm allowing it to happen to me. They wouldn't have power to do this to me if I did not take responsibility and say, hey, you're not going to do this to me anymore.
That's right.
And I know that it's really, really, really hard when you're in the trauma bond. Just, when someone actually explains it, that it's hormonal.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, it felt like I was addicted to that person. Well, yeah, that's what they are trying to create. They're trying to create those big highs, those dopamine, everything is great, just to bring you down. So that constant of high and low is actually chemically altering your brain and can lead to lasting damage. So just recognizing those signs and then putting up those boundaries and saying, hey, I'm recognizing this. What am I going to do about this? Is probably the first steps of how to deal with those red flags. I'm a little ahead of myself.
No, and I love it. What I was thinking immediately is I'm so happy that you didn't add, they're looking for people who don't have self-love. They're looking for people who they have a traumatic past. But having support around you does not matter. That's the thing. Like, they don't look for people who are in particular, like, oh, this is a lone person who doesn't have a family that's going to support them. In our situation, somebody very close to us has been in a toxic relationship for 10 years. Yeah. And the comfort that has been offered, the support that has been offered, we will do this for you, we will help you with this, all of these things does not stop the addiction that she feels like she has. And the thing is because he knows it. He knows it. He's like, your people are trying to save you, but I've got you exactly where I want you. It doesn't matter. And then it starts to become like you're being manipulated by the person because you can't save that person until... It's the same thing with drug addiction. We just interviewed Angus, as you guys seen, and Angus told everybody, my family, my sister in particular, tried to save me so many times, but I wasn't ready to stop doing drugs. It has to be when they're ready for it. You have to be able to recognize what you need to do for yourself. Even it's not like, what can I do for us? Like, how can I help him to get better?
Yeah.
In this particular situation with our loved one, she has this fear. What if I leave and he gets better for somebody else? Well, that's wonderful. Let him get better for somebody else because it's not you. He's not going to get better for you because, like you said, you already taught him how to treat you by what you've allowed. So why would he change?
So on that, you allowed him to treat you that way. So right into that, oh my goodness, where it comes to the whole cheating, you allowed that to happen. If it happens again, once that barrier is broken, where you're going to disrespect your spouse to the point of cheating on them, you're not regaining that back. I'm sorry, there is no coming back from that. So I don't know who this person is, and we don't need to talk about that for their privacy. But I understand. I understand where she is. What I have to say to you, just thinking back about how people in my life, tried to speak with me when they were saying, you need to do this, or I'm not gonna talk to you anymore because I'm so sick of that. That's not helping. Like,
it does not work.
These predators, right, are intentionally trying to isolate you. So the only thing that you're doing is you're giving that predator more control over the situation, and you're putting that person that you want to help in a worse situation. And I'm going to talk about my dad really briefly. Okay, so this is probably a red flag, right? I was inviting over my ex to dinner. And it was going to be the dinner of meeting my father, and he knew this. So I made a steak. It was fabulous, steak salad. Everything's gorgeous, and I'm very excited for them to meet. And I'm waiting for him to come over, and I'm waiting, and it's 15 minutes past the time. It's a half hour past the time. He showed up an hour and a half late to our first dinner after multiple calls, not answering the phone. I can't even believe that he showed up at all. My dad was automatically calling him out for his behavior. He was sitting there and he's like, if I showed up 15 minutes to a date, there better be flowers. He's like, if I even thought about showing up 30 minutes late to a date, I'd have chocolates too.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to ever think about showing up more than an hour late to a date where I'm meeting the father of this girl, I probably wouldn't show up for the fear of my life.
Yeah.
And that made it worse because I know that my dad was about to lose it, and
Mm-hmm.
I excused myself in the bathroom and I'm crying, and he looked at him. He's like, "No, you get your off that couch and you go and apologize to her." And yeah, he apologized, but that didn't stop the way that he was going to treat me, and I wanted him to be there. And he was helping his grandpa. He was doing, they didn't have service. Like, I understand, because I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt and give them as many chances as possible before I walk away. But yeah, that was a big old red flag too. Yeah. And my dad was trying to help me, and I continued the relationship, and he said, "Sorry, no, like, you are going to college under my roof, and I'm not condoning this relationship, so you can get out." Well, what did that do? I ended up moving in with him.
Yeah.
And then ended up getting pregnant a year later. So, that was not the best situation, where I feel like, if I had someone supportive, like, I don't support your decision being with him. But I support you.
Yes.
And I'm here for you.
Yeah.
That would have been so important to me.
Yeah, and as many women that are uneducated about what this looks like as far as being with someone who has narcissistic capabilities, family members and friends and supporters are just as uneducated on how to support. Because that feeling of being so pissed when you love somebody so much and you're watching this happen, it is so hard, because that is your natural reaction. I mean, I've told my person, she told me, "You have to accept this." I said, "Oh no, I do not." That's like you telling me I have got to accept that you're a drug addict and I allow you to do drugs in my bathroom. I don't have to accept what it is that you're doing, but I'm going to practice learning how to be okay, because that's the choice that you're making, and I want you in my life. I've already learned that when I say, "No, he can't come here," and all of this kind of business, now I don't see you at all.
Which is not a good thing. And you have to set, I would say, boundaries up for yourself. But healthy boundaries. Yeah. Because you want to be there with her and be like, "Hey, I love you. I want to be here for you. It hurts me to see him mistreat you. You already know my feelings on this, but it's not going to do me any good to repeat those feelings that I have towards him, because all that's going to do is push her further away."
Yeah.
Just be like, if we just don't talk about him, unless if there's something that you want to talk to me about and vent and work through, that's fine. But for my sanity, it can't be there.
That's exactly what it has turned into.
That's the best advice that I can give you, because they're going to make the bad decisions until they are ready to break free from them. And did you want to talk about the social experiment? Because maybe that would be a good time to do that.
Let's see it.
So I was just talking a little bit about my past. We were talking about my mom with all of her issues. We're going to talk about my grandma too. So my grandma also had alcoholism, and she forced my mom, according to my mom, to raise her 3 younger siblings as her and my grandpa were out at the bar. Okay. So we're going to start off with these 2 cups, right? So this first one, grandma, alcoholism. She's got stuff going on. So that's, the murky water that we have going on here. Now that ideology that, this is okay to act that way was passed on to my mother. Okay? I recognize that it might not be okay to act the same way as my mom, but I didn't understand the effects of how my mom acted, how that would affect and play out on me. I didn't understand that I was isolating myself. I didn't understand that I would choose a partner that wasn't good for me because it was the norm, because I never saw a healthy relationship before and how that looked for me.
Right.
So subconsciously or consciously, I inherited some of that. Okay? Now, I also filled my life with Jesus, which was a big part for my healing.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah.
That pain is still there. I'm healed from it though. I took control of it. So it doesn't hurt me. My sister said to me, she said, how can you go and have this podcast with Darcie? Like, isn't that just terrifying, talking about all these really hard things that went through your life? And I said, no. At one time, when I was young, when I was embarrassed,
yes,
it was terrifying because
Yes.
I was so worried about what other people were going to think of me. And really, through healing, I am not. That doesn't have a power over me anymore, Darcie, because I was a victim to the point where I wasn't a victim.
Yeah.
And I can't be embarrassed about things that happened to me as a child, because what is there to be embarrassed about? That shame is not mine.
Right.
That shame is hers. That shame is his. That's not my shame. You know, I have things that I can be shameful for, which I do feel regret a little bit about carrying that relationship with my ex as long as I did, because it wasn't beneficial for me. At the same time, I had to be truly broken to find Jesus. And at the same time, my son, who's older, he knows what happened, you know, now. There's been a couple of times where he said to me, yeah, you know, it's hard because my friend's parents are together and you guys aren't. And I said, yeah, I know, honey. But never once did he ever say to me, I wish you were still with him.
Yeah.
And so for me, that, like, he understands that it was good for me. He understands that mom is healthy and healed.
Which in turn is really good for him.
Which is good for him.
That's right.
So
because so many people stay. That's another one that I hear all the time as well. But we have children, so we have to stay because I don't want my children to grow up in a broken relationship or in a broken family. Well, what's your definition of broken? Because I grew up in abuse. I am a big reason as to why my parents got divorced. My parents got divorced when I was 16 years old. I was about ready to leave the house at 18 years old, and my dad was not stopping. And I thought, I'm about to leave all my siblings here with this madness that's going on for it to continue through the rest of my siblings' childhood when I know what it did to me for 16 years. So what your definition of broken is could actually be healing and healthy, because your children are going to adjust to 2 different homes, 2 different Christmases, 2 different this. They're never going to adjust to seeing and hearing abuse. Never. I mean, I'm 45, almost 46, and like Ellice said, she can talk about this now because she's gotten to a place of healing, but the fear before of it, my fear wasn't so much of like shame. Mine was hurting my parents, which sounds interesting because your feelings of hurting the abuser. But I forgave my dad so long ago for it that I didn't really want to like pick at it and hurt him. But now I've had a whole entire chapter get published for the whole entire world to hear my first memory, which was horrific, because I'm not a victim of it. I'm a survivor of trauma in my childhood and other things that I've gone through. But I'm not a victim of it. So living in that victim mentality is never going to serve you. But when you have children, it's definitely never going to serve them.
So, yeah, let's switch up the dynamic to talk about children.
Yes.
Because this last cup is meant for the children. So let me just move everything down here just a little bit. So, the children, right? I have 2. So here's the difference. We're going to say that this is X-Man now, right? So there's X-Man, and then there's me. Okay? So, we learned about osmosis during science class. So this isn't going to be like too wild, but it's going to be a little wild, okay? So during osmosis, we know what? That whatever water is in contact with will transfer to the other person with the color imbalance here. So if those are connected, right, because we have a relationship, takes two to have a relationship, he's going to constantly be putting negative in me, and I'm going to be constantly trying to put positive back into myself, which is going to leave me drained.
Yes.
Because what's he doing? He's trying to siphon my goodness back to him. So why do these women feel completely drained and exhausted? Something to think about, right? We have child, right? Now, if there's also another connection between dad and child, or wrong partner and child, that eventually is going to do what? Yeah, they have a little bit of each parent in them, right? So there's a little bit of dad, there's a little bit of mom, right? But then you're also getting all the bad stuff from dad, who's refusing to heal himself and make life better, into him too. And then you got all this stuff from mom. If she's not healing herself, going back into him. If mom's healing herself, that could be a good thing, right?
Right.
So through court and custody, right? With leaving an abusive partner, you can limit how much exposure this child gets, right? You can also choose your next partner wisely.
Yes.
And by making the choice of what do I want for a father figure? What do I want for a mother figure for my child? Like, what are the things that are going to be good for me and good for my child? Guess what? Even if they have that negative, you can choose a positive partner.
Right.
And see the child seeing this relationship and not this anymore, guess what? They're going to have more positivity in their life than what they ever had before.
Yes.
So that's kind of the point that I wanted to make with that. But also, if you're keeping, say that there's parents around that are, toxic, traumatic, replace that with them.
Yes.
What do you want their relationship to be like with your grandchild? If they haven't healed yet, and you're allowing them to be that way around your grandchild, or around your child, their grandchild, what are you subjecting your children to?
Right.
So that is my important life
I
lesson.
love it. I love it because it's just, visually for people, it's so cool to see things like that because 9 out of 10 times if you are in some type of traumatic, toxic relationship, you've read something. You've heard something. You've listened to something, right? Because people do start sharing this. Not as much as back in the day as they do now. Yeah. Like I had actually said to my dad, I really wish that there would have been an easier, outlet for people back in the 70s and 80s, even 90s. Now you just ask your phone to take you to someplace and it just takes you. So not only do you have to humble yourself to say, I really need help with whatever it is that I'm going through, you have to let that fear go of it, but you just ask your phone. Back in the day, you had to not only humble yourself to tell people, this is what I've been going through, because women are embarrassed by it. It's that feeling of, what are people going to think when they find out that I've been in this relationship for this long, and I've been hiding it? I've been bringing him or her along to the holidays, and we're hugging, and we're dressed in our matching outfits, and everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, you've been putting this, what are people going to think? Nobody else's opinion of what you're going through is your business. Your main focus is healing yourself so you can be good for other people. So you can be good for your cousin, your friends, your siblings, your children, your grandchildren.
Well, and here's another point. If they really care, if they're really going to judge you, they're not worth it anyway.
No.
If they actually truly love you, they're going to say, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. How can I help? And right there is where you determine the real friends from the fake. Because, there is a whole split. Once you've lived a decade with people and you have mutual friends and stuff, it's not just, it's a whole lifestyle. It's a whole change of life. It's a whole brand new way of thinking. And my testimony of what made me change was finding Jesus. Because like I said, I didn't feel like anyone loved me. I had to look through it finally after finding Jesus' love and saying, oh, I am a daughter of my Heavenly Father. And just that reset.
Yes.
Because I love my child more than anything, and I want what's best for him. Well, God wants that for us too.
Yes.
And what does God want for me for a partner? And it was that's another thing, is after you have separated yourself from that toxic person in that relationship, there is a period of healing that you need to go through. Because chemically, all of that brain chemistry is different, and it's going to be hard. But there's also, you need to retrain yourself how to love yourself again.
Yeah.
And not only just loving yourself, but knowing that other people love you and will support you. And once I opened up my eyes and I said, okay, that's another thing too. In today's society, it's, oh, who can I roll in the hay with fastest? And that's how we do the dating. It's thinking completely different in the dating world when you're actually entering it as an adult that is emotionally stable. It's, okay, let's look at our common interests. Let's look to see if our morals align. Let's look to see if, our financial goals align. Let's look to see, are you Christian? Are you not? Are you Democratic? Are you Republican? All of those different views, getting all those important questions out of the way. And it's almost actually interviewing.
Yeah.
It's actually almost interviewing your potential future spouse, which you should be doing. Like, oh my gosh, you go to a job interview and sometimes you have 3 interviews. You're not going to interview your potential spouse and actually really ask those important questions before giving your body to them.
Yeah.
and ending up with
I'm waiting to get a bunch of emails with like photos of you guys sitting in a restaurant with a potential partner with your checklist. Well, Ellice said that we need to be doing an interview. So are you Christian or are
Absolutely.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, listen,
don't bring a list. Don't bring a list. But I mean, for real, like that, this is why the world is so different now. And women have such a hard time connecting with the right person because everything in our world is so sexualized. Like it's so about just getting to that end result. And, anybody will say whatever they have to say to get that part of the relationship going. I mean, on a personal level, Eric and I did not make it to that level for over 2 months, almost 3 months. And we weren't, Eric was 26. I was 19, and he didn't push the issue. It wasn't like, well, if we're going to do, which my ex did, which is why he was my ex. Because he kept pushing it and pushing it. I'm not ready. And that's just what it is, period. I'm not that person. And I just never have been. But that self-love and respecting yourself. Like your partner should want to be with you and love you for more than, what you guys are doing wherever in your household you're doing it. They should love you for more than that.
And that's another thing that is just really toxic when you come to relationships that cheat, where the spouse is cheated. Well, you don't put out, excuse me.
I'm saying.
That's not okay. That's not an excuse. Whether, oh, well, I wanted a different flavor. No, that's their problem. That's not your problem. If you find a man that actually truly does love you and loves who you are, they love you with the messy bun. They love you with sweatpants. They love you without a stitch of makeup. They love you, with dragon breath. They don't care. Because that is you as a person. And that is who they are attracted to. And that is what you want. You want a spouse that is going to support you. That is going to share undying love. By the way, I have been married 8 years, 9 years